Now we're going to talk about computer modeling, part 2, and the main concept that we want to get across is that of a state. Now, a state as a noun, which is what this is not a word most of us use very often, but it does mean condition, as when the president talks about the State of the Union. And even the toaster has that kind of state because the toaster is on or off. And that's something of interest to people who want their breakfast in the morning. Now, we gave one example, made up one, but still an example of how a computer would move through a task, which would be that it would have the input, let's say the 100 books we were talking about, and it would read and count the number of times the word apple appears. And then it would output, there were, 88888999 words, apple. I like that. Let's leave it at apples. Now, while the computer is inputting these 100 books into its memory so that it can start to process them, the state of its memory is different from when before it started that. And as it reads these books and is counting the word apple, its state is also different because, for one thing, it has to keep a counter so that it can tell how many times it saw the word apple. And finally, it has its sum total, and it's in this state where it's about to give you your output, and there's your output. So most programs follow something like this with, you have input, you do processing, which in this case is read and count, and then finally you produce some kind of output. All right, so there's 3 states here: the input state, the processing state, and the output state. Inside those states, there's also more states, but now we do use, the concept of state in physics, for example, because here we have a diagram of how water changes from one state to another. For example, when you get it out of the tap, it's a liquid. If you put it in the freezer, it becomes ice. If you take it out of the freezer, either the ambient temperature or by heating it up, either way, it'll go back to being liquid. Now, this is the state that it's started in, and these are our actions to move it to another state. And also, we can turn water into gas by heating it, and when we cool it, it goes back to water. And again, the boxes are states, and the arrows are inputs, or inputs or actions, however you prefer to think of them. All right, now here's something maybe a little more interesting. Let's see. All right, let's hope this is more interesting. Oops. I need to adjust my screen. I hope I can do that. All right. All right. This is a kind of computer that has been in existence for decades. It's been in existence before our modern full computers. This kind of computer can't do everything that our modern computer can do, but they have been used hundreds of thousands of times through the decades, because this, for example, is how a vending machine works. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of a vending machine, an old-fashioned one that will take a quarter, and I think you'll understand quickly why I chose a quarter, or 25 cents, as you see what I have to do to make this work. And this machine has the property that once you can only give it the exact change. So it simply won't accept anything that doesn't fit what it needs. It'll just drop it right down to the return slot. All right, so when we start, we need 25 cents. This is a start. We always have a start. When we're building a computer, there's always a sense of this is where you start. We need 25 cents. If you give me a quarter, then I have 25 cents and I'm done. And I will dispense whatever it is this machine is for. On the other hand, if in the start state where I need 25 cents and I get a nickel, I'm going to now need 20 cents. And if from the start state I get a dime, I'm now going to need 15 cents. And so these states, they don't have to be called that. They just have to represent that. These states are kind of serving as a memory of what happened somehow. And you'll see the somehow because once I'm in the 20 cents and I get another dime, I need 10 cents. And when I'm in the need 15 cents and I get a nickel, I also go to the need 10 cents. So this machine is roughly counting what you give it. It doesn't exactly care what you gave it. It doesn't care if you gave it a nickel and a nickel or a dime. It would still go to the same place, 15 cents. It doesn't care if you give it a nickel and a dime, or a dime and a nickel. It will still go to the same place. Okay, so all of these, so these again, these arrows are the transitions. This is the input. The person who wants the item in the machine is inputting dimes and nickels and possibly to begin with that quarter. And just by the way, it's not that hard to change this so that it can refund money. But for now, I thought, let's keep it simple. And you may perhaps realize why vending machines haven't been taking pennies for a very long time, because if I were to allow for pennies, I would have to have a state of needing 24 cents, needing 23 cents, needing 22 cents, needing 21 cents. And then when I got over here, I could, pop over to the need 20 cents again, but I'd still have to allow for need 19 cents, need 18 cents. So these states, which are the squares, are remembering something, that they're remembering the input. And because we label them in a meaningful way, we can see how the machine is operating. And that is it for today.